study,
and play
come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get
the best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are coming to that dovetail right now, but it doesn't mean that things are boring. We've had two fantastic finales just as we are recording, so we're going to get into it. Of course it was the Champions League final. Of course it was the WSL playoff. Depending on which streaming service you used, some were calling it positively the promotion playoff. Negatively, some people were calling it the relegation playoff. Nobody could decide what they could call it.
It was both. I love that you're promoting this episode at the top by being like, it's not boring. It's like, we're here to discuss the Champions League final. It is the opposite of.
As leagues wind down, you're like, what can you talk about? Turns out quite a lot.
Quite a lot. Also, WSL or NWSL, not winding down, although I guess winding down for June. Speaking of, a couple of quick things, then we're going to literally just jump right into talking about the Champions League final, because that is the big event. A reminder, this is our second to last episode before we take a little 3-week summer break that is in line with that NWSL June break. Season 8 will run through Wednesday, June 3rd, and then we will return 2 days before the NWSL restarts. So we'll be back Wednesday, July 1st. So you're only going to miss us for 3 weeks. We got a great episode. I'm pumped about this. We're talking Champions League final. We're going to talk about the playoff game between Charlton and Leicester City to decide who it was somebody being promoted. It's hard to, who's
taking the 14th spot. That's what we're going to call about it. Who took the 14th spot in the WSL? That's what this playoff was to decide.
Who took the spot? And then we're going to talk NWSL. And in particular, we have to finally talk about North Carolina and their stadium. Do they need to move?
It was the Champions League final on Saturday, the 23rd of May. It was Barcelona versus Lyon. We went into this with a little bit of controversy because once again, Barcelona could not stop running their mouth.
Oh, I didn't even know about this. Tell me, what happened? Allie, our chronically online person of the podcast, educates me.
So they were talked about, and it was one of those things where it was like, you made a great point, and then you should have just shushed.
Can I guess?
Go on then. Would you like to guess?
My main guess, because you are usually annoyed at Spain and Barcelona when they start talking about physicality of games. So my guess is it's something around that. No. Okay. Then what is it?
So they were asked about the venue. They were asked about playing in Oslo. And they said it was disappointing that they'd gone down size-wise in terms of stadium.
I mean, we've talked about this.
I was going to say, that was where they made a great point and where they should have shushed, because it made a great point. They then went on to say, and it's so hard for our families to get to Oslo. Like, it's not like when it was in Bilbao or Lisbon, when it was so much easier and they've got to go all the way to Oslo. Now, for my international friends, Oslo is about 3 hours away from Barcelona by flight. It is ridiculously near. It's mainland Europe, mate. It is not hard. I'm sorry that the finals can't be based around where you would like them to be, where your families are. But
I'm sorry you can't play a home game for the Champions League final.
Exactly.
And that's basically what it was when it was like in Lisbon, you know?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I'm like, are your families not going to travel to like Rio and Brasilia and all that when the World Cup's happening next year? So I was like, first point, great. Second point.
So it was played in Oslo. It was played in a stadium that has the capacity of 28,000 spectators. So yeah, A, downgrade. B, when you've been playing in Camp Nou, quite the downgrade. All right, but let's get into it, Allie, because as you said, Barcelona They're champions of Europe. A final score of 4-0. The club secures their 4th Women's Champions League trophy, 2021, 2023, 2024, and now 2026. Lyon are runners-up for the 2nd time in 3 years. Also something to discuss there when it comes to Lyon. There's a lot. I mean, first and foremost, congratulations to Barcelona. Congratulations. There's so much to discuss in this game, Allie. I'm just to rewind real quick before we get into the game. Who did you have picked?
Oh, yeah. I did say Lyon.
Okay.
And for the first half, I thought I was going to be right.
I had the same thought because I said Barcelona, and let's do it. 4-0 was the final score, but I don't feel like that's at all indicative of the entire game. It's certainly indicative of what the second half looked like. But let's talk about the entire game, because you said for the first half you thought Lyon were going to win, and I certainly agree. They were the better side in the first half, hands down. I've very rarely seen Barcelona that rattled, maybe never. They weren't on the ball. Like, when you play Barcelona, you don't have the ball. And yet Lyon were the ones running the show, controlling the game, had possession. They had the ball. And I mean, we can talk about why Lyon, I thought it was a masterful kind of chess match in which Lyon implemented a high press and essentially challenged Barcelona to be able to beat it and build out of it. And they beat it a couple times, but largely in the first half, they struggled to move around Lyon's high press fast enough to be able to build into something. And Lyon played beautifully in that half.
They basically played Barcelona at their own game, and they were like, come at us if you want to. And they had the ball in the back of the net, which was flagged for offside, which was very unfortunate. And I think if that would have probably changed the game for Lyon. If they'd got that early goal, they would have completely. And I think it just knocked something out of them, because they came out second half and it was like a very different team.
Well, that's what I can't really figure out, is because it was 0-0 going into halftime.
Yeah.
And that goal came, halfway through the first half. It was off of a free kick. Wendy Renard headed it, and Lindsay Horan was on the back post and put it away. Horrific defending by Barcelona, who simply let everybody run free. But then when you see the replay and you see the VAR call, it actually becomes slightly clear that Barcelona intentionally didn't follow their runners, because Lindsay Horan was called offside as Barcelona stepped up.
Also, just saying, you have dead named her twice. It's Heaps now, not Horan.
I'm so sorry. Heaps, so sorry. My deepest apologies. It was a risky and yet very smart offside trap by Barcelona. It worked. The goal was disallowed. But I don't think that was the inflection point. Obviously, I agree that if that goal had gone in, everything would have changed. Everything would have been different. Lyon had all of the momentum. They had all of the power in that moment. And who's to say that they wouldn't have taken that momentum that they gathered from scoring and scored again? However, they were still playing up to that level through the rest of the first half. And then something changed at halftime in multiple ways. But we have to talk about the emotional aspect of it, Allie, because you texted me and you were like, they believe they've lost.
Yeah. There was no fight. There was absolutely no fight. And I'm like, what was said to you in that dressing room for that second half? Because they very much look so defeated. And I get it. 1-0 down, you're like, you still have every chance of coming back from this. You've done it already because you did it against Arsenal to get here. And then they got a second goal very quickly. And I'm like, okay, I get it's harder. But again, you can still do this. Like, there's still a chance. But they just literally just stopped.
Iwa Payor scored the Barcelona's first goal to put them up 1-0 in the 55th minute, early on in the second half. And so you think after that, Lyon are going to look at the clock and they're going to be like, okay, we have so much time left. We're down by only one goal. Let's see what we can recreate. And it just never, to your point, felt like they were able to get themselves emotionally back in it. There was a moment when they were down 2-0. Payor scored a brace. The second goal went in the 69th minute. And then after that, it was Shawinga for Lyon, who had a breakaway, a 1v1 opportunity, and couldn't put it away. Didn't finish. The moment I saw that happen, I was like, those are the moments that make or break games. That could have turned the momentum for Lyon. And hey, now you're only one goal down. You've just scored. perhaps then something can change. But that was really the only opportunity I can point to, Allie, in that latter half of the second half that could have changed the tides. Like, their heads went down when they went down 1-0. By the time they went down 2-0, it felt like it was a mountain to climb instead of just a 2-0. And I do think it was emotional, and that was the main problem. And I think that tactically Barcelona went into the changing room at halftime and they sorted things out about the high press for Lyon.
Yeah, no, exactly. They actually did something about it. They were like, okay, so they've come out slightly different than we thought they were going to do. What do we need to do to break it? And they did. Whereas Lyon, I feel, maybe came out a bit like, well, it's working, so let's keep doing it. But there was no backup plan. Like, they didn't discuss being like, well, they didn't seem to think that, well, Barcelona might change what they're doing based on how we've been playing. They were like, well, it's been working. And then it didn't work. And then they were like, now what do we do? And they had nothing.
Do we have to talk about the back line of Lyon? There's two things we have to talk about because this is a front line that is stacked, right? I mean, front line by Ada Hegerberg. You have Dumornay, who's been absolutely impeccable. Julie Brand, like Lily Johannes. I mean, there's just like it's a who's who. So we have to talk about both sides, but I do need to spend a moment on the back line because I feel like what did change partially in that locker room at halftime was Barcelona came out and said, if they're going to high press us like this, then we need to use our speed and get in behind them. And they were able to catch Lyon. Like, a high press is always a double-edged sword because if you high press, you're leaving yourself slightly exposed in the back.
Very vulnerable.
And Barcelona figured out how to expose them in the back. And there are a lot of goals to talk about. I mean, four goals went into the back of the net. And so there's a lot of different things that went wrong for the back line of Lyon. And it's not just on those four, but multiple times Barcelona players were in behind the back line of Lyon. And we just have to talk about why. I think partially lazy defending and not following your runner all the way. I think that was in the latter half, though, when they were already down 2-3-0.
I mean, to be honest, the second goal was lazy. I was like, that was such a tap-in. I'm like, how have you not gone? Like, what are you doing?
It wasn't. It just, the back line wasn't clicking. Nothing was clicking for Lyon in the second half. I'm trying to think of something that was, and nothing really was. There were some beautiful opportunities. Lily Johannes had created some beautiful opportunities. But Lindsay Heaps had a fantastic game. But Julie Brand could do very little against Anya Battier. That's a really fun matchup. But you're not going to take on Anya Battier 1v1. You're not going to. You have to find another way to do it. And then on the other side, it felt like Ashley Lawrence was trying to get high, but she wasn't necessarily connecting with Dumornay or anybody that she was supposed to be, and it was just disjointed in the second half. Now we have to talk about what Barcelona did well. I feel like we've spent a lot of time on Lyon. Let's talk about Barcelona. And I want to ask you your thoughts because you were very unimpressed with them this entire kind of Champions League run. You were like, this is not a Barcelona team that screams dominance. Here we are 4-0 in the final. What are your thoughts?
So first off, I was like, this is what I was saying. Yeah, first off, I was like, this is what I was saying. Second half, I think it's one of those things that, do I think they played well? Absolutely. I think they absolutely changed the game plan as they had to. They came at Lyon in a different way. They were adaptable, and that's why they got the 4 goals. Do I think these 4 goals show a dominance of a team? No, absolutely not. I don't. I honestly feel Barcelona are giving me what Chelsea gave me last year, which is they play well, they win games, they can grind out results, but are they as scary as they have been previously? No, I don't think they are on the world stage. I don't.
I think what's scary about them, Payor had a brace, Salma Parayuelo had a brace, and one of the worldies, her first goal was a dagger. It was a dagger to the game because it was in the 90th minute and it was the 3rd goal. There were 7 minutes of stoppage time, so it would have been obviously far-fetched, but it wasn't out of this world. The moment that 3rd goal goes in, Parayuelo's first, like, it's done. That was a dagger to the top bins. Like, that was beautiful. But I do think that they're dangerous in the sense that Iwa Payor had an impeccable, 11 goals in 10 games? Impeccable Champions League run. They are dangerous in the sense that they have so many goal scorers. And yes, their back line isn't as strong. And I want to talk about that physicality because Barcelona, for the first time in a long time, leaned into the physicality of the game instead of trying to avoid it. And I actually thought it threw off Lyon, which I think predicting this game beforehand, we would have said the other way around. Do they look as free-flowing as previous Barcelona teams? No, they're not as free-flowing. Are they as dangerous? I think so. And we have to give credit where credit is due. This is a Barcelona team that took down an undefeated Lyon team. They're undefeated in their league.
Correct.
And I wonder, and this is a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's a team that really hadn't lost. And they didn't know how to deal with being down. Do you think that was part of it?
No, I do. I agree.
Really quickly, did you see the little white bugs on the screen?
Yeah. I was like, what's wrong with my screen?
I kept clearing the screen for a moment, and then I was like, are they bugs? Are they fireflies? I tweeted about it, or I blue skied about it, and I will say some of the responses were hilarious. Somebody was like, those are Bev Priestman's drones. And while I appreciated all of the jokes, nobody actually told me. I think that they were bugs. Yes. Anyways, it felt worth noting because I was just like, somebody else has to be wondering about this.
So no, it's a very quick question because it got announced earlier, again, perpetually online, got announced earlier this week that UEFA are going to bring in a rule that you can't have the same owner for two teams.
I saw this. I was like, this is targeted.
That's going to be in the Champions League. So my quick question, because it's a conversation me and my friends had, if London City do rise to the ranks that Michelle Kang wants them to, who is she going to favour? Who is the golden child? Is it going to be Lyon or is it going to be the newbies London City?
I feel like she has to favour London City. That's her baby. I mean, I'm sure she loves Lyon, but like, if I'm thinking about who she's going to have an easier time selling also, it's going to be Lyon. So she's got a favor, but like, yeah, she's probably scrambling right now. Because I wonder if you have to do that preemptively. Like, what happens if she doesn't sell either team and then London City get Champions League? I guess in the off season she has.
I was going to say she'd have to sell in the off season. She'll have to pick one. But that was the question we were like wondering with whether.
What do you think? Do you think it's London City also? That's
100%. The way she's stacking that team with certain players, I'm very sure that Lyon would go bye-bye.
Yeah. Do you think she'd be like, Lyon players, you can come play for London City for this?
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
Oh, okay. So finally, a massive congratulations to Barcelona, the latest dynasty of the Champions League. Lindsay Horan for Lyon just played her final game. She will return to the NWSL. You'll get to see her in action starting when the NWSL resumes in July at Denver. As for Barcelona, the next time we see Barcelona, it could look very similar or it could look very different. Alexia Putellas, her contract is ending at the end of this season, so it's ended now, but she has an optional extension. Other contracts that have ended after this season, Caroline Graham-Hansen, Salma Pereyuelo, Onya Batier, who it has been rumored she will be going back to the WSL, and Claudia Pina. They all have contracts that end at the end of the season, so it really will be interesting to see what the makeup of Barcelona is next year. What do you think is going to happen with all of them?
I think some will stay. I do think some will stay. I think Pina will probably stay. I wouldn't be surprised if Hansen stayed. Battier, I do think, has got one foot out the door and will be thing. Putellas is the one that interests me probably the most because she's the one that's probably going to get the most attention and the most offers. So she's the one that interests me the most about where she's going to go.
What do you think? I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago.
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if she stayed at Barca, is the honest answer. I think it may end up being that boring that she does stay.
It's honestly hard for me to imagine that she would go anywhere else. And yes, there's like pride involved and there's ego and there's also playing time, just detached from ego itself. If she knows she's not going to get playing time at Barcelona, will she still stay? that's maybe the biggest question. That's not me saying that she won't get playing time at Barcelona, but, you know, I don't know. She's just a player that's so Barcelona through and through. It's really hard to imagine her in any other jersey. All right. I'm really sad it's over, Allie.
For another year.
For another year. But that's it. Barcelona are the champions of Europe for the 4th time. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world. A heads up for international break edition.
I was going to say, this is Nations League edition because that's all I could find.
Yes, so while all of these leagues are ending, we have an international break window starting in just a couple of weeks. And of course, UEFA or European qualifiers for 2027 are on their final couple of games in this international break. And we're going to tell you all about it.
Yes, so to League A, Group 1, and the big games are happening on the 5th of June. Denmark will be taking on old foes Sweden, and Italy will be taking on Serbia. And then on the 9th, it's going to be Sweden versus Italy and Denmark versus Serbia.
And League A Group 2, it's the Republic of Ireland versus the Netherlands and Poland versus France. The second set of matches is France versus Ireland and the Netherlands versus Poland.
And then League A Group 3, otherwise known as the Group of Death. Spain will take on England on the 5th of June, and then they will take on Iceland, whereas England will contend with Ukraine at Goodison Park on the 9th.
And finally, League A Group 4, it's Slovenia versus Austria for the first match of this round, but it's Slovenia's second match, which is the tough task of Germany. Remember, only the top team of each group automatically earns their place in the World Cup.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Hey, Fidelity. Can I get a second opinion on stocks in the Fidelity app?
With Fidelity, it's easy to get an outside opinion from independent experts in a single score.
And then?
When you're ready, trade U.S. stocks and ETFs with no commissions.
That's right.
I am always right.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. $0 commission does not apply to customers designated by Fidelity as a professional equity trader. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a service fee of $100. See details at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
AI is moving fast across the enterprise. But without visibility, it's just chaos. Different tools, different models, different teams using AI in completely different ways. ServiceNow turns that chaos into control. With the AI Control Tower, you see all your AI across the business in one place. What it's doing, what it's done, and what it's about to do. So you stay in control. To put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
To the WSL, and there are 2 things to discuss here. The first is, of course, the playoff match between Charlton and Leicester City. Who will go to the WSL 2? Who will stay in the first division in the WSL? Which is not, by the way, the BWSL. We've made this very clear for many years. Stop trying to make it happen. It's not the BWSL.
I like literally anybody who listened to comms, and I feel like it wasn't just me. I feel like they've been told they need to make a quota of how many times they said it, because the amount of times that Emma Byrne was like, "They're fighting for a place in the BWSL." No,
nobody knows what the BWSL is. Nobody calls it that. It's the WSL.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I feel like we had this like 3 years ago when they started trying to brand it like that, and we keep being like, stop it, stop it, stop. As you said, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's never going to happen.
It's true.
But before we talk about that playoff game, we have a little update because I don't know how many weeks ago, but on one of our episodes in the past, let's say 2 months, Allie flagged to us something that the FA was considering doing in terms of putting youth teams in Tier 3. And we have an update on that. Allie, can you briefly just give everybody a reminder of what it was they were considering doing and why you think it's a bad idea, or why you think it's a good or a bad idea, not to give anything away?
So essentially what it is they are the FA proposed that, so for anybody, again, if you don't know the English system, it's a pyramid. So you have your absolute pinnacle, which is the WSL, and then you have the championship, and then it breaks down into wider, mainly national, and it's geographically set up. So tier 3 is the one below the championship. It's divided into the north and south. And they suggested that they were going to get certain clubs in the WSL that have under 21s, that they've got like youth teams that the players aren't going to break into the main squad because they just need more experience, but they don't want to put them with another club. So they're in development squads, I believe is now what they're calling themselves, and put them into tier 3, which is 2 below the WSL, to get them that experience. Nobody likes this idea. The clubs already in tier 3 don't like this idea, and the everybody else thinks it's just so going to be detrimental to the growth of the game.
Why do people think that?
Well, because, and this is the big one, the way they want to do it is that those teams can't get promoted. So they're playing in this league, they can't get promoted. They will stay in tier 3 indefinitely because they're youth teams. So they can't go up to the championship. However, they can still get points and ergo take points off other teams. So therefore, this could affect the promotion places of other teams, and you've got to remember, these are teams that are part-time. They need that extra money to get up to the championship. It's going to affect people's livelihoods just because bigger teams have too many players that they don't want to put on loan. It's so detrimental, and literally everybody apart from the FA thinks this is a terrible idea, and in true FA style they've gone ahead and said that it's going to happen. So from 2027, and it's probably going to be your big 4. It's going to be your Chelsea, your Arsenal, your Manchester City for sure. I think Manchester United might be, because they're going to put 2 in the north, 2 in the south. And everybody's like, what are you doing? Nobody likes this. Nobody wants this. What are you doing? And the FA have gone, well, the big clubs want it, so.
Yeah, the rich get richer is basically what it is. We're going to cater to the top clubs, and that's kind of it. God, what a little microcosm of the world we live in now. It's like, actually, these people with all of the money, we're going to only listen to what they want and keep them happy. So whatever they want goes. Don't care if it affects everybody else negatively. Sorry to everybody.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Well, we will see how it pans out. Spoiler alert, probably not well. In other news, let's talk about something more fun. Let's talk about this playoff game, because as a reminder, Leicester City finished last. They finished in 12th place of 12 teams. Next year is the first year of expansion. The WSL is expanding to 14 teams. So we already know that the top 2 teams of the WSL 2 have been promoted.
Yes, now they have, but they're changing. I didn't realize that they're keeping the playoff game.
What? No, when this was announced initially, there was only one playoff game.
And now they want to keep it, apparently. So then again, changing all the rules, it's going to be, so 2 teams will get so 2 teams are going to get relegated, because it's going to be 14 teams from here on out, except for it's going to be the bottom team automatically down, top team automatically up from the championship.
Oh, God. And then the second to last in the second place. That's a terrible idea. Okay, so it's terrible. I mean, it's not in keeping, as you've said, the people who now kind of like run and operate the WSL in the championship. So like the first and second division, they're not English. And it's very clear, because when this was initially pitched, the expansion was going to be obviously to 14 teams, and the top 2 would be promoted, and then the playoff game was just a one-time deal, because that would bring you to 14 teams, and then from there on out it was just bottom 2 promoted, bottom 2 relegated, top 2 promoted, clean and simple. And it should stay clean and simple. Sorry, I just hit my microphone out of anger. There's no reason for this. So that's infuriating to me, but wow, that bothers me more than it should.
Because it's stupid.
It doesn't, well, yeah, if you earn the promotion, yeah, it's not what you do.
It's not what we do. And it's like what happened last year when we had that epic battle between London City and Birmingham City, and they literally went to the final day. And let's be honest, and West Ham was down there, so it's not, I'm not being biased, but the bottom two teams of the WSL, it was Tottenham, I believe, and I think Liverpool maybe, but it was bottom two teams, have been so poor in the WSL. And you look at this Leicester side, they hadn't won a game all calendar year. They hadn't won any of their away games. That was a stat we learned today. All year, they hadn't won anything at home. Any wins they got were at home. And so they've been really terrible and they've been poor. And they might win a game, and prevent a really great team coming up from the championship.
It just, it's not in line with the English pyramid. It doesn't make sense. And also, might I say, as a way to transition us into talking about this playoff game, it's not like this playoff game was a big advertisement for how great this game could be, as you have told me. Now, this game happened at probably like 3 a.m. my time. And while I did get back from the bars in the morning, I was not awake for this. So let's talk about it, because a reminder, the place that we're in right now is that the top two WSL 2 teams were promoted. The third place team in Charlton is having a playoff game with the last place team, Leicester City of the WSL, to see if Leicester City will stay in the WSL or if Charlton will take their place. The winner of this game goes to or stays in the WSL. And it went to pens. Charlton wins it on pens. Charlton is going to the WSL. Allie, correct me if I'm wrong, for the first time in club history?
Correct. This is the first time in club history they are going to be up there. Though, slightly downside fact, as somebody pointed out, now it's going to be that 50% of all WSL teams are going to be in London.
I'm pumped for Charlton. I'm pumped for the WSL. I think it's great when a team that hasn't been there gets promoted. I'm excited to see them there. This is a more exciting result for me than if Leicester City were staying in the WSL. And I think that's also part of what we were just talking about in terms of it should just be 2 promoted and 2 relegated, where it's like this team, they need to go down a tier and resituate. So I'm glad that Leicester City are. Hopefully it doesn't destroy their club, because their men are getting relegated too. So it's kind of like a double whammy for them. So that's a bit of a bummer. Is there anything to say about Leicester City on that topic before we move on to the Charlton of it all?
We'll talk about the game, but I will say that I do feel bad for Leicester having spent some time with their fans. Their fans are great. I do feel bad that this is where it came to. But I will say, you looked at that lineup and I went, do Leicester want to stay up in the WSL? Because they had, so first off, Player of the Year, Alicia Lehmann, was nowhere to be found. She was not on in the squad, nor was she on the bench. And their key players were all on the bench. Like, literally, the commentators was like, they were doing substitutions. And I think it was Emma Byrne was like, would this not have been your starting lineup? Like, I get it. We're currently going through an anomaly over here of a heat wave. So it was warm. It was like 29 degrees Celsius. So you're reserving players, but either way, I was still like,
you don't reserve your players by starting them on the bench. That's not how it goes.
Correct. So I looked at the lineup and I went, I don't think Leicester want this.
So you think that Leicester City didn't even put up their best lineup, and even so, Charlton and Leicester City were locked. I mean, it was 0-0. It was,
and it was 0-0. It literally was 0-0 all the way. And I genuinely think this was, if anything, and if you want to go watch it, I get highlight. Maybe watch the penalties back. Maybe the game wasn't great, except for the goalkeepers. This was a masterclass from both goalkeepers. And Leicester's goalkeeper went in as a substitute against that thrashing from Arsenal, and that was her first appearance for Leicester. And then played this game. And she's a young Republic of Ireland goalkeeper, Katie Keane. Remember that name, because she was phenomenal. She is the reason Charlton didn't score. It was her. It was massive. And then on the other side of it, Sophie Whitehouse, who is Charlton's goalkeeper, step up, you hero. Because I would say probably halfway through the second half, Leicester made some changes, and then because they were like, oh, we actually might lose this. And they started picking up the pace, and they started they brought on terrible stat this. I was like, why do people keep telling this stat? They brought on at the same time Emily Van Egmond, Rach Williams, and Ashley Neville with the combined age of 103.
That's a ridiculous statistic. Give us, if you're going to give us age, give us average age. What the hell? Were you giving me a combined age?
They kept telling us this. This was the stat that every commentator kept bringing up, was this is the combined age of 103.
It's a bad stat. Give us the average. If you're going to talk about age, give us the average.
It was horrendous. But they brought them on, and they were game changers. They really did.
Who would have thought that those three, right? I'm so surprised. Said nobody. Was it you or Mike that texted something along the lines of, who would have thought that two teams in free fall playing each other would make for a terrible game? It's like, yeah, well, sounds like that's a great description of what happened here.
It really wasn't fantastic. And you could see that they, especially Charlton, first half really came at it, and then it just sort of petered. And then penalties happened.
Pens happened. Charlton won on pens. It was 2-1 on pens, I believe. Yeah, it was 2-1 on pens, which I think will tell you how bad maybe the penalty. I haven't watched the pens.
No. Okay, they weren't the best pens. I'm not going to lie. They weren't the greatest pens, but they weren't terrible. They weren't because everybody was like, oh, they're terrible. They're awful. The players are tired. They've not. No, that's not true. We
do need to change the narrative of pens where it's like, it's not always a bad penalty. Sometimes the goalkeepers, they come up big.
Please do not take this away from the goalkeepers, because it wasn't like Leicester and Charlton skied their penalties or it went wide. Every single penalty was on target, and the Charlton goalkeeper saved 4 out of 5. And the only reason she didn't save the other one is because it was Olivia Clark, I believe, just smashed it, did what Hope Solo says she should do in a penalty, which is just power it, and it will go through. It's unstoppable. That was the only difference. She saved the other 4 brilliant saves. This is what I'm saying. This is that Sophie Whitehouse. So that's when people are like, oh, well, they only scored, this is terrible. No, please, I beg of you, watch it. Do not take it away from these goalkeepers, because this was a game for goalkeepers.
I love it. Well, congratulations to Charlton. I'm excited to see you in the WSL. I do feel for Leicester City and Leicester City fans. Any final thoughts on this game, Allie?
I kept getting some brilliant stats, which was because Charlton spent so much time in the automatic promotion spots. There were 1 or 2 for most of the year, and unfortunately slipped in the last hurdle. It was literally the last 7 games. So the first 15 games of the season, they had a win rate of 74%. In the last 7 games, they had a win rate of 14%.
Yikes. That's like my split when I ran the marathon.
Yeah. I mean, at least you ran one.
I ran one a while ago. I ran one about 12 years ago. It was the one and only that I ran, and my split was, I think I ran a 7:30 or 8-minute average mile in the first 13.1, and it was like a 15 or 16-minute mile average in the last 13.1. If anybody's wondering, the most mileage I ran when training for the 26.2 miles was 13.1. And yes, that did appear in my race day. Anyways, a fun anecdote. That is a free fall. That's a free fall for a team.
And I will say, Leicester, hold on to Katie Keane, who was the second keeper, because I'm telling you now, there is going to be a West Ham, a Liverpool, who are going to want her for the WSL next season.
I would be excited to see her in the WSL. I'm excited to see what Charlton do. Please, Charlton, don't wipe the slate clean. Just add to what you have. We say this all the time. Teams coming into the WSL, sometimes they'll just create an entirely new team. Don't do it. But I'm very excited. We're going to see 3 teams from the second division in the WSL next year.
So our final talking point, because we can't leave the NWSL alone, is an article has come out about the North Carolina Courage and their stadium issues because they seem to have outgrown it.
Certainly. This is WRAL, WRAL News. Shout out to them for writing about this, Brian Murphy. I don't know WRAL News, so I'm going to assume that it is it's definitely a local news in Raleigh, North Carolina. So shout out to the local news. There's an article by Brian Murphy basically making the case and not making the case, reporting on the fact that it's simply not sustainable for the North Carolina Courage to move forward like this in their current stadium. So for those who don't know, North Carolina Courage play in Wake Med Soccer Park, which I have two things to say about Wake Med Soccer Park. Number one, if you're not familiar, North Carolina in and of itself is like a hub for soccer. It's where University of North Carolina is, Duke. It's like some of the best collegiate programs in the country. And it's where a lot of, like, for example, NCAAs, which is the collegiate governing body, like essentially it is our FA Cup, but for college teams. The semifinals and final take place at Wake Med Soccer Park. Like, this is, it's a great venue. The other thing I'll say is this is a venue that is in Cary, North Carolina, and it's one that the North Carolina Courage have been playing at for a very long time. And it used to be, in my opinion, probably the hardest home field to go into in the WSL. And they just have simply fallen behind because it used to be the hardest place to go into back in, 2019? And then things have changed. Washington Spirit moved into Audi Field, which is a stadium built for MLS soccer. It has a large capacity. Of course, the Current built their own stadium. Gotham moved from playing in a collegiate stadium to playing at Sports Illustrated Stadium, which is also an MLS soccer-specific, professional, high-capacity facility. We could keep going on and on. Everybody has moved into large-capacity soccer-specific stadiums. And North Carolina are still playing in this 10,000 capacity, 10,000 people, Wake Med Soccer Park, which is, it is what it's called. It is a soccer park. Yes, there are like bleachers and places to sit. But when you think of a stadium, it's not a stadium. And so it's fallen from this place that was actually like used to be the best place to play in the NWSL to arguably maybe the worst place to play in the NWSL. And this is a great article, and I'll stop monologuing.
I have to say, I'm sorry, I'm just laughing in British because I'm like, that sounds like most of our stadiums, like West Ham playing a stadium very similar.
Okay, but I will say this article, it makes a lot of good points. So first and foremost, the North Carolina Courage sold out consecutive games for the first time in club history this month. They attracted more than 10,000 fans to First Horizon Stadium when they moved their games to First Horizon Stadium to play in a larger capacity stadium for May 2nd and May 16th. So those overcapacity crowds are just more evidence that some of the franchise has been of something that the franchise has really been arguing for a while now, which is basically that the club needs a new stadium to replace its current venue in Wake Med Soccer Park. They have simply outgrown it. So there's a couple of really great stats in here that I'm going to read. The 10,000 fan capacity of the stadium is below the NWSL's league average attendance. Most other franchises have invested in their own facility. Almost all of them have a larger capacity than that. And so I think for a lot of reasons, right now the team's averaging 8,448 fans. And there's a couple, like, you could hear that and think like, well, then you probably shouldn't play in an over 10,000 person capacity stadium. But this is the same argument we've made with so many teams that you can't like wait until that many people come and then move them. You have to move them to a larger stadium in a perhaps, dare I say, more accessible area. If you build it, they will come. And so that's what they want to do. Essentially, this team and the the leadership are saying that they're seeking public funding to build their own stadium for themselves. They've proposed a 20,000-seat open-air stadium as part of a $2 billion entertainment district development plan known as Downtown South. What are our thoughts, Allie?
My thoughts are twofold. First thought, you have to move. You do. You are the North Carolina Courage. You need a better stadium. It's true facts. But you're a business, my friend. You don't need. You should not be getting. And I'm aware before people start, if you follow men's football, I'm aware West Ham play in a publicly funded stadium. It used to be an Olympic stadium. The men do. I'm aware. But you're a business. Why should the public fund your stadium? Go pay for a stadium.
I feel like people are starting to get really mad about this because essentially it's always, at least generally in the United States, even though these sports franchises are privately owned, they get public funding to build stadiums. I personally have never understood that. Why am I paying to build a stadium and then I have to pay to get into it also? Well, I paid to build this damn stadium. What the hell? It makes no sense to me. And now I think people are starting to click into this thought of like, why are these billionaires getting help from my tax money? Like, I get that it adds to the environment or the city or whatever the hell, but no. It's an ongoing, I think, it's a growing tension in this country. We've had this discussion around the latest NWSL franchise that's moving into Ohio, and they're getting public funding. And some people are happy about it and some people aren't. It's happening in the NFL, in American football, and the big billionaire Chicago Bears owners are throwing a little fit because nobody wants to build their stadium in Chicago based on taxpayer money. So guess what? They're moving to Indiana where they can use taxpayer money. Like, it's happening everywhere. And I am so in agreement, Allie, that it's like, you bought a franchise with this money, go use your money and build the damn stadium. Period. The end. And I'm really sick of taxpayer money going to it.
Like, no, go buy your own, just build your own stadium.
But I am a big proponent of North Carolina getting a new stadium. So I just hope that they don't get taxpayer money and the taxpayers don't have to pay for it. And simply the owners have to pay for it. Period. The end. But yeah, this is a franchise that, you know, I mean, they were the pinnacle of the NWSL for a very long time in every single way, and they've fallen off. And I think that it could be a really great way to like rejuvenate this franchise that seems a little tired, a little rusty, a little old, and maybe bring them more into like the modern era, if you will. North Carolina fans, curious what you think about this. Tell us. I'm sure there's a soft spot in your heart, I'm going to guess, for Wake Med Soccer Park. There has to be. Like, if you are an OG, you have to have so much love for this park, because that's how I would feel. And I would feel like, I don't know, of course I want it to grow, and like I absolutely love this place. And I've had this discussion also around women's basketball too, where it's like, we want to move this team into the city. For example, this happened with the Liberty because they were playing in upstate or like Westchester area in New York State. And when they were moving into Brooklyn, the conversation was like, well, what about these hardcore fans that have actually been the ones who have been there? Like, before the W blew up, they were the ones buying the tickets and going to the games. And now you're going to take that away from them. That feels icky. But as the game grows, it's just the trend. Unfortunately, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. But North Carolina fans, I'm really curious how you feel about this. Feeling bittersweet, feeling torn, feeling like you're done with Wake Med Soccer Park, feeling like you really don't want them to move. You like the intimacy of a 10,000 person venue, feeling somewhat in between. Let us know how you feel, because I'm very curious. All right. And that's it for us here this week. Next week, what is it, Allie? An episode
dedicated to the NWSL.
There we go. It's going to be the final week of the NWSL before June break, and we're just going to talk NWSL for an entire hour for you. And we're so excited for it. That's it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show this week. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
From the best-selling author of The Terminal List comes The Fourth Option, Jack Carr's new thriller series with co-author M.P. Woodard. When the justice system fails, former Navy SEAL Chris Walker delivers his own brand of outlaw justice in this action-packed audiobook. Read by Ray Porter, The Fourth Option by Jack Carr and M.P. Woodard is available now on Spotify or wherever audiobooks are sold.